So this is Stephenson's rocket, the real Stephenson's rocket. Sophie's over there. We're in the jolly old science museum. So it's an early train, 1829. Marks one of history's key advances in technology, the first modern steam locomotive. Built to complete the 1829 Rainhill trials. It could get up to 29 miles an hour. So Robert Stephenson, I'm not sure if it's the same one that wrote Treasure Island, probably not. Built it, and it's still there today here in the Science Museum in London. There's other exhibits of things of importance that we've all heard of, like the Stephenson's rocket. Up there's important breakthroughs in aviation. And you've got important old cars over there. Another this is an old Ford, isn't it? This is where Henry Ford, not Gerald Ford, he was a different Ford, says, "I will build a motor car for the great multitude." And you've got, this is your Ford car, you're not allowed to touch it.
Cafe.
And I don't think we are past the cafes, are we?
Yes, because we're going there.
I saw a sign saying cafes this way. Anyway, Ford. We're not allowed to touch it, but we can get up right close and look at the Ford thing. So there's your original Ford car, and you can look. It's actually got a tax disc on it, because you want to have your car on tax. But for '97, I suppose that's the last time it went on the road. Over 80 years old and not as strong as it looks. Handling will damage it. So that's what they looked at. That's what the dashboard looked like. Not like a modern dashboard of a car. This one's Miss England, not as nice as some of the Miss Englands I've seen, but it's an important world speed record contender as a racing boat in 1929. So these are all important. There's an original big bomber. Not sure which bomber that one is, I can't see the label. But I hope you're not leaning on that. Oh, it's the Lockheed Electra by the looks of it. Lockheed Electra airliner from 1930. No, not a bomber after all, it's an airliner. It's a passenger plane. And these are all of those old cars from the British motor industry that we used to have. That's the birth of the missile there. An early missile, what this one is. Whether it's the actual one, because it would have burned up surely, but it's a V2 rocket. Maybe it's one they didn't use. It's a V2 rocket that was used in the war. And these are old cars from the various makers of cars. There's a Japanese person standing in front of an old Japanese car. That's a Ru 2660, probably one of the earliest Japanese ones. Let's have a look. Nihon no jidosha desu.
I'm Korean.
Oh, Korean, okay, sorry. Right. There's your Apollo 10 command module. I'm not going to do a whole thing here of this, but just an idea of what you can see if you come here. So, this is the Deep Blue Cafe. Most things around this area are quite deep blue. So, very modern kind of cafe. I've got some Zoider here, and she's got some juice. I've got some tea as well, elderflower and lemon or something. We're waiting for the food to actually materialise, which is going to be interesting. This is a gallery of old, 18th century scientific apparatus, from globes and astrolabes through to various kinds of measuring equipment that they devised for themselves, most of which, they didn't have the same kind of fabrication possibilities that we had today. So a lot of these things are made by, blacksmiths and what have you for people from drawings, and nevertheless they managed to do quite well for themselves. A lot of the discoveries that we now have come from these days, and Sophie's got herself a little bit hung up on the bit about science and the French Revolution and what happened to the chemist Lavoisier and how he got his head chopped off. That seems to have enchanted Sophie for the moment. That's quite an interesting globe, showing how Poland and Europe used to look, and the different kinds of shapes of. France was a country, Poland, as you can see, was a country, obviously England. This is Chinese Tartary, as they call it, with most of China is underneath it, but a lot of what would be China today is under Tartaria. You've got your south east area here's got some kind of a coloration on it. What to make exactly of this is beyond me, actually, but the colourings on that globe, it certainly is an interesting one. It's got January and December and all of that lot around the outside for some reason. You're still back to Lavoisier again, aren't you? I don't know. This has got the star signs on a globe instead. It's all rather strange and quaint. Well, a video with me on it is something that you would often find on this channel, and this is no exception. The difference here is that this video powered from an electric circuit, combining that camera there with that video, which is all powered from this turbine. And this turbine's based on a water, well, spoons basically. So these spoons here going round and round very quickly. They look like normal dessert spoons, as I'll show you from the side. When it turns off, the camera doesn't have any energy and the monitor doesn't have any energy. The way to make it work again is to pump water using these 4 pumpy things. You pump the water into the tank up there. When that tank is full of water up to the red line, then the sensor, the circuit breaks on the sensor, and this thing starts up again. So a few people working as a team can put enough water in, and on the red line, you can see my water gushing in. As it gets up to the red line, this will come back on again. So she's watching a science show in the science showroom, how rockets get into space. I saw there weren't any proper chairs in there, and I don't really, well, a bit big for sitting like. Oh, it's getting past the sensor. As it goes up, we'll see this come back on again, just up to the red line, and it will come back on again, and that will spring into life up there. So there we are. That's the whole cycle. When it goes below the bottom sensor, it turns off again. This whole area, called the launch pad area, shows all the different little experiments that you can do. They're pretty heavy duty built, so because every day obviously they're in constant use and they don't like things to go wrong. In fact, there's nothing of these hardwired things which seem to be going wrong. Saw somebody do a bit of maintenance on the bubble machine, but other than that, they look terrifically well built so that they can withstand hours and days and weeks and months of pummeling by children. It's very well made stuff, and each of which has a little science point attached to it.